Okay. Hi, everybody. You know, I'm Sarah. This is the Kitten Cuddle Room. I posted on Facebook that we were going to discuss what we feed kittens and what we feed cats. And of course, I'm not an expert. I'm just basically going by my own experience and what I've discussed with other fosters and the rescue people I know. And over the last 5 years, there are just a few things that I found that work for me and that I feel more comfortable feeding and using to care for the kittens. Hi, Benny. Hi, everybody. If I've missed anybody. Hi, Tam. Welcome to the Kitten Cuddle Room. You ripped the paper. I probably really needed to know what that word was. Stop. 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 Okay. So, as you know, I primarily deal with kittens, and I foster for Kitten Rescue in Los Angeles. So, I deal with more kittens than grown cats, but I've had grown cats my whole life. So I will share what I feed my own cats and my experience with wet and dry food through the years. Don't stab me. I have the clippers with me. Anyway, they're so rude. I came in and played with you earlier. Anyways, so we'll start with kittens. Sadly, a lot of people seem to think that cow's milk is okay for kittens, and it's not. It doesn't have the nutrients that kittens need, so even if they were to eat it, they would starve to death slowly. But they also have a hard time digesting it, so it gives them diarrhea, which dehydrates them and then takes way more nourishment. So it really is, it's not going to do anything for them. So we stick with formula, and we have recipes to make our own if we choose to. I choose to just buy it, primarily because I'm not always bottle feeding, and I like to keep formula here in a sealed can. So in case I do get kittens, I always have a can of formula here. I use the powder rather than the cans with liquid because the powder will last longer. And once you open it, you put it in the refrigerator, and it's supposed to last about 10 days. But as long as the can is still sealed, it'll last for quite a while. I use KMR, which is the one I use is primarily from a company called, I think it's Pet AG. I think that's how they pronounce it. There are a couple different formulas. There's Breeder's Edge, and there's another one I was told about called Just Born that I have not used. But kittenrescue.org, the Kitten Rescue's website, has some really amazing information that they updated this year on the site. So I just discovered it in the last couple of months. And they have, what do you do if it's, you find kittens and it's in the middle of the night and no pet stores are open? How do you make formula if all you have is milk and, human food supplies, and just to get them through the night until you can, first thing in the morning, buy formula. There's certain things like that, for emergencies, because it does happen. I'm lucky that I am near an emergency vet, but they don't necessarily deal with kittens all the time either. And sadly, I've learned through the years now that most vets don't have a ton of experience with kittens, and it's difficult to find vets who have experience with kittens, which makes it harder to get them treated and spayed and neutered. Anyways, so we use formula. There's also recipes on kittenrescue.org of the formula, and I know our president, the president of the rescue, Ben, makes his own formula, and he really likes it. He thinks that it's definitely easier on their tummies, and he's probably right. I just... Stop it! What are you doing? Why are you picking on me? I just don't usually have any of the supplies necessary in my house to make it, so it's easier to use the formula, and the formula really is just fine. Excuse me, don't hurt me. Okay, okay, I know, I love you too. Okay. Do you want to just lay down on my shoulder? Because that'll be okay. What is it, baby? So anyways, thank you. Okay, that tickles. Don't attack my hair. It hurts. Okay, get out of here. This is so good. I came in earlier and they ignored me the entire time. Ew. I will try to slow down talking, guys, but I'm going to go in after and enter the CC anyways. But I can't. It's difficult to go through all this information if I'm constantly focusing on trying to pause in between words. Excuse me. This is hard enough to deal with. Oh my God. Would you stop? Just sit there, please. Please. Anyways, so I'm sure that if any of you have ever bottle-fed kittens, that you've seen there's like little packs with little bottles and a variety of nipples that you can buy, and they'll do in a pinch, but usually in my experience those nipples, the kittens aren't crazy about them, and if you're not really experienced bottle feeding, it can be difficult to get them to accept those nipples, and even if you are experienced, sometimes it's difficult anyways. Would you please stop? Stop. Come here. I can't reach you. Can you come up higher so I can reach you, please? Come here. I know. Come here. Come here. Anyways. Ow. Oh my God. Where are you? I know. Come here. Come here. Okay. Stop. Jeez, man. It's just never. I'm never going to be able to film clips. Never. I'm cursed. What? Okay, so I haven't had great experiences with those nipples, and the nipples that I've had the better experiences with, and other fosters have as well, are called the miracle nipples. Oh my God, would you stop? Calm down. And I get them on Amazon, and everything I'm discussing I will post a link to when I post this video. All of the food and all of the supplies I will post links to, and Kitten Rescue's website. So the miracle nipple has more of a point to it. The nipple is smaller. It's just closer to what a kitten would be used to. And it usually will come, you can buy it with a syringe that you can slowly push formula into through the nipple. Some people find that to be easier to use than a bottle. The biggest issue with bottle feeding, one of the biggest fears of bottle feeding, is you don't want the kitten to get the formula in its lungs, and that's really, really bad, and that can lead to pneumonia. and it can kill them. So ultimately, we're really careful. We've discussed before about how you hold them up, you don't hold them like a human baby, all of that stuff. But nipples and formula are important as well, especially when they're little and they're fragile and it's important for them to get the nutrients, and it's important for them to eat. Now, once they're at the age where you can start weaning them, which typically it can be between like 3 and 5 weeks. The earliest I've had it start is 3 weeks. Usually, then that's early. I don't push it, and I was just talking to the manager over at the kitten nursery today, and she said the same thing. It's especially if they have a mom, you want them to get as much of that natural nutrients as possible, and the formula is good for them. And as long as they're eating a ton and they're gaining weight and they're healthy, there's no need to push them to rush into weaning. It just tends to be something a lot of fosters try, because the sooner that they're weaned, they get used to eating food, and then they get adopted, and it just makes that process go a little bit more smoothly. You get to deal with the diarrhea and get them through that instead of it happening around adoption time. I get it. So I just kind of wait until they start showing interest in the food, unless it's a situation like these guys where they just refused the bottle and wanted nothing to do with it and really didn't even want formula. So I had to get them onto wet food so that they would eat. And that meant lots of fun poop and diarrhea, because their little bodies, their little intestines were not quite ready to go full on wet food. And you always start them with wet food rather than dry food. It's not usually a good idea to give them dry food before, I'll do it if there's a mom because she needs dry food around. So I'll do it once they've been weaned and maybe they're about 7 weeks. At 8 weeks, I'll put it out. If they can chew it and they're into it, then I'll give it to them, because it's important for kittens to have food available to them throughout the day, and wet food will go bad. So I do like to get the little baby kitten dry food so that they have something to snack on in between their wet food meals. I feed them as much food as they want when they're kittens. If they are yelling at me for more wet food, I give it to them. They're growing and they burn off so much energy and calories that it's totally fine for them to eat nonstop. And usually the professionals suggest that you leave dry food out for kittens 24/7 until they're about 8 months old. And you might still be able to do it after that, where they can free eat, whatever they call it, because they don't have the same risks as some older cats, where older cats, if you just leave dry food out all the time, sometimes will get fat, like my cats. And kittens don't typically have that problem, and they need the extra nutrients. So I always leave out the baby cat for them, and whenever they show interest in it, I let them have it, because it's specially made for kittens, and it's small enough kibble that they're not going to choke on it, and that they can actually chew through it. And that's the most important thing, and that's why you don't give them adult food that isn't also made for kittens. So as you know from watching the cam, most of you, I start off with giving them Royal Canin wet baby cat food. that's for moms and baby cats, if there's a mom. It's got the extra nutrients that kittens need. Kittens need extra protein, and that older cats don't necessarily need. There's just a few different levels, and baby cats will give them that. If baby cat is too rich for them, which can happen, especially if they've been fed poorly or if they were with their moms and the mother wasn't in good health, then their intestinal tract, their digestive tract needs to be reset. And the way we do it is by feeding them a raw food diet. I've had a lot of little orphaned kittens that do not react well to baby cats, meaning they may gain weight, but they start like getting diarrhea nonstop. And with these guys, many of you saw, it was just pouring out of their butts. So at that point with them, they were what, like 3.5, 4 weeks old. They were refusing the bottle. So, and the baby cat was causing diarrhea. So the next step for me after that was to try the raw food. So I mixed the raw food with some of the baby cat, and then I just went straight raw food until their poop got a little too firm, and then I added a little baby cat back into it and tried to balance. What I've been told and what I believe at this point is that a raw food diet can reset their digestive tract. I've seen the raw food do amazing things for my fosters and for older cats. I've talked to people before and suggested the raw food, and they've gotten back to me and said it was amazing, the change that they saw in their kitty's poop. And when I say raw food, I don't mean just go out and buy raw meat and feed it to your cat. There is specially formulated raw food for cats, and you can buy it at pet food supply stores. There's a couple different brands, and they're in, you can get it frozen in little hockey puck looking pucks, or sometimes they come in little niblets and they're frozen, and you have to defrost those before you feed them. There are a couple different companies. Some of them that I've used Nature's Variety Instinct, and I've used a local company here, and I could not remember the name, saved my life, and I will have to find that because I don't have any more of their bags left here. But there's a couple. There's Primal Pet Foods. There's the Honest Kitchen. They do dehydrated raw food. Nature's Variety Instinct is one of the first ones that I tried, and I really liked because the little niblets defrost quickly. Get down from there. Excuse me. Get down. No. Stop it. Oh my god, he was chewing on the laptop. Oh my god. Okay. So the niblets were great because they defrosted more quickly than the hockey pucks do. And obviously the hockey pucks take longer to defrost through the middle. Sometimes I'd have to microwave them for a couple seconds. And, okay, I'm going to have to close the chat because they're going to ban you if I'm not looking. So there's Nature's Variety Instinct, and there's Stella and Chewy. And Stella and Chewy and Nature's Variety Instinct and Primal Pet Foods have both frozen raw food, and they have freeze-dried raw food. And with the freeze-dried, typically what you do, you don't have to refrigerate it, and you just add water to it and rehydrate it and feed it to your cats. And the Honest Kitchen only has the dehydrated raw food, and it's actually human grade meat, and it's less processed than some of the others. And you again just add water, and you're still getting better nutrients than you typically do with dry food and most wet food. So I really like raw, but not all kittens will eat it, and all cats will eat it. You know, because my cats tend to sometimes eat it and then other times don't. And it also can be expensive, but typically good quality cat food is expensive, which makes it even more difficult. And we'll discuss that a little bit too. So once the kittens start weaning, and I know that at the KR nursery, Kitten Rescue Nursery, they use Natural Balance indoor formula, and they add water to it, and they will mix some formula with it and make a little what we call slurry while they're weaning them. They also, if the kitten doesn't like the Natural Balance, they'll use a brand called Nutro, and they have like a soft loaf kitten food that I believe is chicken, and they said that a lot of kittens really like that. I have not used that brand, and I'm not a big fan of the Natural Balance. That was what I first fed Fosters when I first started, and they weren't crazy about it. They got diarrhea a lot, and when I'd open the can, it always looked different. The meat always, like, the color wasn't always consistent. Something looked different, and I started questioning the safety of the food. And I'm sure I could have been completely just being paranoid, but that's when I switched to the Royal Canin Baby Cat. And I've discussed before that if I do the raw and it works and they're better, and I switch them back to the baby cat and still have issues, if they're old enough, sometimes even before I try the raw, I'll do Max Cat duck slices. It's not the healthiest food in the world, but it's definitely not bad. But cats and kittens seem to really love it. And when I've had sick cats or sick kittens, that food has worked wonders. When I first got Storm from Storm and the Raindrops, I spoon fed her the Max Cat duck slices, and that's when she decided I was okay. It's got a gravy on it that seems to drive kitties crazy, and I was feeding it to my cats because Rob has such a sensitive stomach, and duck is easier on kitties' tummies than chicken is, and but my cats became almost addicted to it and would yell at me constantly to feed them, and they would eat as much of that food as I would possibly put down, and I was tired of them yelling at me, so I switched them to Wellness Turkey Duck, Wellness Core Turkey Duck. And I talked about that before. I really like the Wellness Core products. I really like their wet food, and I usually really like their dry food. What I think is probably one of the best dry foods on the market is Origin, but it's really expensive, and it's too expensive. I used to feed it to my cats years ago, and they've raised the prices consistently, and it's just ridiculous. And since most of what I get is through Amazon, it's ridiculously priced on Amazon. But the ingredients are top quality, and it has consistently been a really good food when I've used it. But because it's so expensive, what I typically will feed for dry food, with the kittens, if they're past the baby cat kibble, I will do the wellness, and the turkey, duck. They have a kitten formula. They have a formula that's for cats and kittens. Right now, I'm using what's a new brand to me, is Nulo, N-U-L-O. And again, I'll put the links to everything under the video when I post it. But Nulo has a cat and kitten formula, which is helpful because when I do have mama cats, I need something that will work for all of them. But because it is for both cats and kittens, that makes it even more important for me to give them wet food that has that extra protein that kittens need. So I give them the kitten formula wet food and make sure that they're doing well and they're healthy. I like Nulo. I think John said that he tried feeding it to his cats and they didn't like it. But the ingredients are good. One of the primary things I look for, or look to make sure it isn't in the cat food, both dry and wet, is the processed, the meat byproducts. I stay away from meat byproducts. So I know that there's different quality meat byproducts in some cat foods. If you need a less expensive, regular grocery store type food, Fancy Feast, its primary ingredient, its first ingredient is real meat, but it does have byproducts in it. So if you're feeding your cats a store-bought brand, as long as the first ingredient is actual meat and not a meal, all of them tend to have like chicken meal or turkey meal, but if the first ingredient is chicken or turkey or duck, that's better. And if there are meat byproducts, it's not always the nightmare that people have created rumors about. And sometimes you just can't afford the better stuff. So the primary difference between the cheaper stuff and the better, more expensive stuff is that the more expensive stuff has no byproducts, and it typically, the more expensive brands tend to be grain-free. And the reason why we like grain-free is because kitties have a harder time processing the grains, because, you know, and grains turn to sugar, and proteins from grains are harder for them to digest than like proteins from animal products. I mean, I wish it wasn't like that, because, you know, I like to not use any animal products. I would like them to be vegans with me, but I truly believe that cats are obligate carnivores, and they require, you know, certain nutrients like taurine and some other things that only can be given to them through animal meat. And anyway, you guys just throw me off, because I'm just waiting for you to jump on me. Oh Lord. Okay. So anyways, I have cats that have weight issues, and the first thing to do if your cat has a weight issue is to cut out dry food and only have them on wet food. Dry food, no matter, you know, some people try to convince themselves that dry food is better than wet food. I've had doctors or possible doctors try to convince me of that. It's not true. Wet food is better than for your cats than dry food, but dry food is not horrible as long as it's a good quality. If your cat eats only dry food, it can develop urinary and kidney problems because there's less water in it. Dry food is higher in carbohydrates, and it can cause weight gain, which is what happens with mine, because the carbohydrates turn to sugar. And there's little sneaky things, like a lot of the dry food companies, oh, you guys are so cute, will spray a taste enhancer on dry food to make it more palatable, and it becomes more addictive. And that has been my experience, because there's just something about kibble that kind of drives my cats crazy. So, and I made the mistake of trying to feed them some sensitive tummy kibble, because Rob's stomach was acting up for a while. And I thought I would just give them a little kibble to try to get his poop more solid. And already Faye and Fiona are starting to put the weight back on that I had gotten them to lose. It's so sad, because kibble's so much easier. And I'm still feeding them wet food, but just giving them like a kibble, part kibble and part wet food at night. No kibble for my little pudgy wudgies. So cute. You're just looking for trouble. I know you're looking for trouble. The two gray ones, you two are just trouble. Anyway, so wet food is better for cats. It's got more moisture, it's less processed. Dry food goes through this process with high heat, which, you know, I mean, it's hard kibble. Of course it's not as good for them as wet food. And I know people convince themselves that it's better for their teeth. And in some ways, sure, if you are crunching on stuff, it's going to help get some of the stuff off of your teeth. You know, I think with anybody. But I've had cats that refused to eat wet food, and they ate kibble, and they still had horrible dental problems. It's not going to stop them from getting the gum infections. It may keep their lower parts of their teeth cleaner, but their gums are still going to get plaque, and all of the dry food's not going to stop that from happening. Now, like I said, I really like Origin, and I like the Wellness Core, and I usually like the Turkey Duck Wellness Core because the duck is more gentle on tummies usually. And some of the things with quality dry food to look for, besides it not having the byproducts, is, like I said, being grain-free, but also, like, Origin uses fresh meat, even for their dry food in the process. They don't get, like, frozen meat, and their primary ingredients, I think lower down at the very bottom of their ingredients list is maybe some, like, just chicken. But the beginning part of their ingredients, like the first 5 ingredients, I think, are all fresh meat. And it's they're lower in carbs, and they don't have potato, because a lot of times if a dry food company takes out, and wet food takes out grains, they'll replace it with potato, which really isn't great for them either. Just another starch. And Origin doesn't outsource their food. They make it themselves. They don't have some outside company manufacturing everything for them, which I kind of like. And with wellness, and I think Origin has it too. I know Nulo does. They have probiotics, which is good for their tummies as well, which I find to be very helpful. Sometimes I add probiotics to their food when they have diarrhea, but it's nice when their food has some in it. And with Wellness Core Turkey and Duck, their dry food is, or their turkey and duck is fish and chicken free. And there's a lot of kitties that have sensitivity to fish and chicken. So there's an option there for those households who need it to be fish and chicken free. And Nulo also is grain free, has the probiotics. They're low carb, and they don't have any potato. They don't have white potato. They have sweet potato, which is fine, but they don't have white potato in their food. There's another company called Merrick, which I haven't had a ton of experience with, but I have used, and it seems fine. And some other fosters use it. They're grain free, and they're also corn and soy free, and chicken is their first ingredient, and but it has potato. But again, it's not a huge deal. The potato isn't a huge deal. So I've seen more bargains price-wise on the Merrick food than I do ever on Origin or on Wellness. So if you see a deal on Merrick, give it a try. The potato in it isn't going to do any harm. And like I said, it's grain-free, and chicken is the first ingredient. And I believe, and from what I've read and what I've talked to other fosters, that even the dehydrated and the freeze-dried raw food is still better than the dry food, and some, if not most, wet foods. But that can still be debated, but in my experience it has been that way. But kitties are finicky and won't always accept the freeze-dried even after you add the water. Although we know that in my household, just freeze-dried chicken treats drive them crazy. I mean, they're like addicts. So I had to actually stop giving them treats, and I saved the treats for when they meet adopters, because it was just nuts. They were trying to like tear bags open and pull open cabinet doors to get the bags. They're like, it's like drugs. And it's just freeze-dried chicken. Who knew? So there's that, and I will hold this here because you will attack it. Usually, when you look at ingredients list on cat food, it's listed by weight. So the first ingredients are what it has the most of, and that's what I always focus on. But again, you do want to kind of scan down and see if there's something they're slipping in later down the line that your cat might have a sensitivity to. I'm not forgetting anything. I think so anyways, I think it's just the most important thing is to feed your kitties for the life stage that they're in. Don't try to give kittens like full-on adult or senior food. Only give kittens food that says kittens can eat it. And pay attention to their poop. Because really, that's how I tell whether or not the food is right for them. If they start throwing up, we know that's a bad sign. But if their stool suddenly gets really loose, it can either be, if I've just switched to a new food, I try to do it gradually so that their tummy doesn't get upset. So at that point, I might expect a little loose stool. But if I haven't just switched their food and they start getting diarrhea, I will start paying attention to what I've been feeding them and slowly trying a few things. I know that through the years, everybody always says, have you tried pumpkin? Have you tried pumpkin? And don't, you're gonna hurt me. You keep stabbing me. Be nice. Be nice. Be nice. And yes, I've tried pumpkin, and pumpkin can help in an emergency. And all it is you go get a can of pumpkin and just straight pumpkin. It can't have anything added to it. Nothing. It has to be straight pumpkin, and you can add like a teaspoon to their food. And they tend to like it. But in my experience, pumpkin is just a band-aid for whatever's going on. It'll stop, or help calm the diarrhea for a while. But then I stopped giving them the pumpkin. I'd ease off of it, and then the diarrhea would come back. And if I do the raw food and I do it long enough and it resets their digestive tract, usually that works. If I do that and they're still having horrible diarrhea, then I can be pretty confident at that point that they have something like colici, that they have a bacteria and that we need to put them on some antibiotics and kill off something that's living in there. And that's why we will like deworm right away and try to just make sure that there's nothing else in there that's causing a disruption, and that way we can be more confident in our decisions to treat it food-wise. Yes, I know. Oh, I know you're back there. I know. Thank you. I know. I know. Come just lay in my lap. Hi, baby. So I think that is it. I will open chat now and see if you guys have any suggestions of foods that you use. I never thought mine would eat pumpkin, and they really like it. I had no clue cats and kittens liked pumpkin. What? Until I used it, and they were like, yummy. And I like pumpkin. Oh my god, you guys are just, you're nuts. Would you stop, please? Just stop. Just stop. Yes, baby. What kind of kitten kibble is it, Karen? Is it the Royal Canin? What brand? Thanks, Jasper. The primary thing is that pumpkin is fiber. So that's the logic, is that the fiber helps helps the diarrhea. It doesn't do them any harm. It's not like candy. It's not, but it doesn't necessarily do any major benefit for them unless it does actually help with the diarrhea. Yeah, most of the time, the food that the vets suggest, sadly, are food companies that they have deals with, that they get a commission on when they sell the food. And honestly, most of the time, vets aren't researching food. They get kind of lazy after a while. Not all of them. I'm generalizing. But a lot of them. And, I just walked into one of the vets that I've used for a long time with the Fosters, and they have an entire wall of freezers now with this brand of, I'm assuming it was raw food for dogs and cats, this whole wall, and they had a representative with a little kiosk in there now who sells that product for them. And they're making money off of it, so are they going to tell me to go try some other brand? No. They're going to tell me that this is the best food ever, and that's why they've done this, and they could be telling the truth. But I can't even, all the times my old vets would have me do the Hills, I think it's the Science Diet, the ones that are like AD and all those letters. And I will say that their dental one was helpful, but it's super expensive. And the ingredients aren't great. I think with senior cats, primarily in my experience, they just need water. So I tend to only give senior cats enough dry to kind of maybe help clean off their teeth a little bit. But even then, like I said, it doesn't do all that much to help their teeth, and as long as you're getting their teeth cleaned, that's good. I think they need extra water at that age because that's when they get closer to having being susceptible to kidney failure and stuff like that. But I think that the same rules apply, that you want to get them food that's as pure as possible and doesn't have the byproducts. And if I could get a senior cat to eat raw food, I would. I think that would be great for them. Yeah, they get commissions. And I get it. I totally get it. But, like, I have my Amazon page. I'll put products on there. But I will always tell you that, like I told you, I wouldn't buy Origin on Amazon because it's too expensive on Amazon. And I don't, so, you know, I'm not gonna make money or commission off of anybody going on there and like looking for the origin. The most important thing is that, one, your cats are gonna eat it, and another thing with senior kitties is that sometimes they lose some of their appetite. So at that point, you just feed them whatever they're willing to eat. I know that when John's cat was ill and wouldn't eat anything, I was like, give the cat baby cat. Because baby cat, like older cats, love baby cat. And it's rich, and it's not the best thing for them because it can give them diarrhea. But if that's what they'll eat, go for it. If they'll eat the freeze-dried chicken treats, then you give them the freeze-dried chicken treats. If they'll only eat Friskies, then you give them Friskies. You know, when, don't, like, beat yourself up if you end up feeding your senior cat like crappy cat food because that's all they'll eat. You just do the best you can. Yeah, about after 7, I still think that, like, you know, after 7 there's a lot of cats that are still young. It depends how healthy your cat is. I had a cat that lived to be 18. My last 2 lived to be 13, both of them, and 13, 14. So 7 would have been, what, midlife? Yeah, it's not good to let them drink milk. It'll give them diarrhea, and it doesn't have the nutrients that they need. But most importantly, yeah, like, you know, if you let them drink the milk from your cereal bowl, besides the sugar and the cereal that they probably shouldn't be ingesting, it's not going to kill them, but it's going to give them diarrhea. Lizzie. Shame, Lizzie, shame. That's great, Kathy. Over 20 with diabetes is pretty amazing. Wayne, we're not going to go into pregnant kitties right now, but if you want to private message me on Facebook, the Kitten Cuddle Room page, what your situation is, I will happily give you advice privately. I will, there are plenty of videos and I have one of mama cats giving birth, and where we discuss how to care for them. Excuse me, you have got to leave. Keep your claws to yourself, mister. If they lick up the gravy and leave the rest, just add some water to it. That's what I do when they get older, and when they're kittens. Cut it out. I add water. Bottled water. I don't do tap. That's because our tap water is really hard here in Los Angeles. I know. Just take a nap. Hello. You're adorable. We just do the best we can with what we can afford, and not all kitties are alike. So would you cut it out? Some, like Rob, has a sensitivity to some foods that my other cats have no problems with. Well, if you're gonna do that, let me trim your claws. Come here. What are you doing? Here. I'm gonna trim them if you keep touching me. Yeah, Waruva is pretty good. I know there's the Tiki one is pretty good. What I primarily look for, like I said, is grain-free, and I also don't think that I don't like giving them food that has too much too many vegetables and too much fruit in them. Some I believe is helpful, but there are some brands where like the third ingredient is like a fruit. Cranberries. And I'm like, my cats don't have urinary infections right now, so I'm not worried about the cranberry. I don't need them to eat that. Oh my god, I'm gonna kill, like, you are killing me. Come here. Come here. Well, and some people give their cats pills in butter. It's not going to kill them. It might, if they're constipated, it can help. Like, these guys are gassy, and there's just no reason for them to be gassy. But if you give him butter, the next time you do, pay attention to the litter box and see if it affects his poop. When my cats start getting a lot of hairballs, which is actually pretty rare, but when they do, I have slipped some organic cold-pressed coconut oil into their food, which they also seem to like, just a little bit, and that's helped with the hairballs tremendously. Hey. What? Hey. What? What? Don't go away. No. No. Yes, you're adorable. Excuse me, Missy. Hey, John. Look, you have been fine with this, and now you're gonna suddenly, are you really gonna become one of those? Really? Okay, look, I put it over there. Just relax. Just relax. This is our little girl, our little coral. Like he's like, I've got hands. He's all picking it up and oh Lord. She won't use the old litter. If she poops outside of the box, put her poop in the box on the new litter, and that might help, so that she can smell her poop in there. Now again, I'm not a fan of Fancy Feast, but if you have to do a store-bought brand, it's one of them that has byproducts, but at least the first ingredient is meat. And it's not like a just straight to the meal or something else. Like it's always, I don't like when I see chicken meal as the first ingredient and then the second ingredient is brown rice. I'm like, that's not, no, there's better than that. I don't think PJ has any old litter with her because she just picked her up from the shelter and did not bring a bag of dirty kitty litter home with her. So maybe rescues and shelters should start that. Be like, here's a little bag of her poop. Put that in your litter box. That would be smart. You are just troubled today, aren't you? Look at Koi Koi. You just sleep under the arch. Aren't you tired? Boy, it's exhausting doing this with them. My God. I came in earlier today and they ignored me the whole time. It's like they know. I think the percentage of meat changes, but depending on the brand. But like kittens need a higher percentage of meat than older cats do. But like I think Origin is like 90-something% meat. And the others kind of fluctuate around that. And the really crappy ones are lower than that. Usually rescues or shelters don't like to use fish food or, you know, seafood, cat food, because more cats are sensitive to fish than pretty much anything else. So it's just safer to stick to chicken for them. And if a cat has a reaction to chicken, then they usually know that they need to switch to duck or raw. No, it's what I said earlier, that with most dry foods um, and some cat foods, they'll put little flavor things in to get them to like it. But usually the foods that don't have byproducts don't have any of that kind of stuff in it. Well, you know what, Karen? I know it's sad when they can only get like the crappy food, but the truth is that it's just, at least that's still better than what they would be eating out on the streets. I know fosters who, I mean, for kitten rescue, the fosters, we pay for our own supplies. So there are fosters who can't afford anything other than Friskies, who can't afford, you know, expensive kitty litter. So they just, I mean, and they get coupons and they follow all the sales. They will send emails saying, I just found this sale here. You can go to this market and they're selling like 5 for whatever. And that's why I'm so grateful for those of you who help with like when I needed food and all of that, because I watched them just go crazy trying to find deals on all of that stuff. Yeah, that's the thing with that I mentioned with the wellness turkey duck, I believe, is that they don't have chicken or fish in it, because a lot of times with like the cat food that says chicken, they still have fish in it. You mean, or if it says turkey and duck, you look at the ingredients and there will still be chicken and fish in it. So the wellness, I believe it was the wellness, right? Yes. The Wellness Core turkey and duck dry food does not have fish and chicken in it. So if your cat has a sensitivity to either of those things, it's a good dry food for them. Exactly, John. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, we fed my cat kitten chow dry food, or cat chow. I guess it was Purina cat chow, meow, meow, meow was the commercial. um, and there was what, the other one that had the meow, 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 meow song. They were crap, but my cat lived to be 18. But when she did pass away, it was from kidney failure, and she wasn't getting enough water. And cats don't automatically balance it out and drink more water to compensate for what they're not getting in the food if you switch to dry food. They don't always do that naturally. Is chicken fish approved? I don't know. Probably. I think so. It's litter box approved. Yeah, like giving your cats a chicken breast as a treat once a week, totally fine. It's just, you know, we can't just feed them that kind of stuff every day, because they do need the added vitamins and minerals and stuff that they put in the dry food. Hello. Are you hiding back there because, you know, the clippers are up here? Well, I had gotten, or someone had sent, the water fountain that I'm actually going to bring back in here soon. I've been nervous to bring it in because they like splashing around in water. But with the last litter I used it and they loved it. And I love that fountain. So I actually bought one for my cats. And they love it too. And it's easy to clean. It's easy to change the filter. It's stainless steel. And it keeps the water pretty clean. Much cleaner than when I don't use it. Your kitten has a tiny hernia, PJ? Did they tell you that that's going to be extra when you get her spayed to have fixed? Ow! I have little puncture marks all over me now because of you. Yeah, I can't afford to run the faucet for my cats because our water is expensive here. These two are ridiculous. Little baby. Would you please just take a nap? Hi. Your sister's taking a nap. You are just out to get me. Cut it out. Well, I know that, like, my friend Jenya got one of the fountains for her kittens, and she didn't like it. She suggested I not put it on my list, but I think she had a different brand. I don't like using plastic bowls of any kind, so I didn't want a plastic fountain. I've had bad experiences with plastic giving kitties chin acne, and I get nervous about the bacteria that forms on it. So I really liked the stainless steel, and I really liked how simple the design is, and how easy it is to clean and keep sanitized. Yeah, the white, you mean the Siamese looking one? Moby was up running around when I came in. You don't have to pay for water? Where do you live? Are you finally getting sleepy? Come here, baby. They were going to put her down because of the hernia? If it's a small hernia, then the vet should be able to treat it pretty quickly during the surgery when she's getting spayed. But you're going to need to tell the vet so that they're prepared and they know. Wasabi paste. Oh my god. When I post this video, I'm gonna post links to everything, every single thing I've discussed. But if you don't want to wait until I do that, there's a link in the description underneath this video for my Amazon page, not my wish list, my Amazon influencer page, and the water fountain is listed on that. And most of the things I've mentioned are listed on there. Except for I don't think the origin is on there. It might be though. I forgot if I did. But the fountain is on there for sure. And I love that fountain. I have seen so many fountains that are so crappy, the little crappy plastic ones. But I've seen other stainless steel ones that just are like a puzzle that you have to like figure out how to get back together in order to clean. And I can clean this one so quickly. is, baby? He liked the Tapatio? That's crazy. Hello. I mean, at some point, the only reason I didn't just get a Brita and keep that in here or in the bathroom, and partly because it's hard to fill it up in my tiny bathroom sink, but because I do like Britas, but the cats really they respond to the flowing water, and I loved how much they loved the water. It was really, I don't know why, it made me so happy. But it made me happy to see them like drinking so much and knowing that it was clean. Ew. Would you cut it out? Stop. Well, and with Amazon, you can double check for the item, but their return policy on everything is usually pretty good. So if you use it and your cat doesn't like it, just send it back. And a lot of times on Amazon, if you get something and you give it a bad review, even if their policy isn't to take and give a full refund, a lot of times if you do a negative review, they'll contact you directly, the vendor, and say, if we give you a full refund, will you change your review? That's happened to me like every single time I've done a negative review. And not even negative, like just not thrilled. I know, I was just, when they were running around in the bathroom, I have the little cake pan that I used for their litter box in there, and Koi went in it and was standing in it, and I was like, how did you poop in that little thing? You're huge now. You're huge. But they're tiny. But they're huge. The pump died. Well, with this fountain, the pump looks like it would be really easy to replace. So I think as long as they have replacement parts, but honestly, it's been so worth it. Yeah, with the kittens, usually I will use bottled water when I clean it, when I start it off fresh. And then I'll add tap water as we go, as we get closer to time to change the filter. But those filters are really pretty good. The water always looks really clean and good. Yeah, I got a dress on Amazon and they sent me an extra large instead of a small, and I totally forgot to send it back within like the period of time that I was allowed. And when Amazon sends you the thing saying, hey, rate this product, I wrote, I was pissed that I went through the whole ordering thing and that they sent me a freaking extra large. Like, how does that happen? Get the size right. And now I didn't send it back in time, and now I'm stuck with this dress. And then they saw the review and they contacted me and said, if you send us a picture of the extra large, we'll arrange something to make it right. And I was like, okay. It's handy. With this water fountain, you have to fill up the whole thing before plugging it in. If you plug it in before the water is high enough, it won't go through the fountain properly. And once it starts running low on water, it starts making this like little tinker noise. So I always know when it's running low. Good night, Susan. Whatever the brand is of the cat fountain I have on my influencer page. Like I said, I rarely will go on about a product, but I have been really happy with that water fountain. My God, you're adorable. I agree, Amelia. No, usually, unless my cat has some kind of special medical issue, they should be getting the nutrients they need from the food that I'm buying. That's why I spend so much money on their food. You don't want to overdo what they need, and if they're getting what they need in their food, then there's no need. But you know, if you have a cat that's older and has health issues, sometimes they need a little extra. Like I used to give my Gia, who had feline herpes, I would give her lysine because that wasn't in the food. So there's little things like that I would do to help boost her immune system. But usually you shouldn't have to give them added stuff. This is Flipper. Neptune's right there. Neptune finally is taking a break from torturing me. And Flipper's asleep. I just scared Coral. Where'd Momo go? Oh, there he is. Little Momo. Fat risky get with no days for wet food and a major food anxiety. That's Thank you, Juliet. Yeah, the Pioneer Fountain. Here is Momo. Come here, baby. But again, I will list all of the products that I've mentioned when I post the video, and I'm gonna, once I leave here, I will go start working on posting the video right away. Yeah, when I got the fountain set up, the kittens were a little like, what is that? And so I always go in and I splash the water and let them know that it's not going to hurt them. And then they got interested, and then they were gobbling up the water. PJ's kitten just said hello to us all. Oh yeah, no, this one, that's the thing about the Pioneer, is it's big. It'll last days. I have 4 cats and I only fill it up, and it's not like completely empty, but every 2 days I go and I pour like a bottle of water into it. Have you tried the raw food, Amelia? No, it's not noisy at all. If it's making a noise, then you probably need to turn the thing. It's probably not aligned with the fountain right. Because for a while I was like, why does mine keep making noise? And then I realized I put the top thing on wrong. And it's easy to put together. So I was like, but you need to suction the filter and pump holder to the bottom in the right place so that the hole lines up with the hole on the stainless steel cap that you put over it. And it's not hard to do. I just didn't know. And once I turned it the right thing, it stopped making any noise, except for when it's running low on water. But it's completely quiet, unless it's like, put water in me. Because I'll hear this noise and I'm like, what is that? It's like somebody like trying to, like playing with something. Like it's this weird kind of crackling noise, like it's drying out. And then I realized, it's the fountain. I'm a bad water mama. I need to put water in there. Oh, that's awesome, Brenda. And do you find that it's easy to clean too? Yeah, I would try the raw food, Amelia. Maybe try, just to make it easy first, try the freeze-dried and adding water to it, the freeze-dried raw. And then if that doesn't work, then try the frozen raw. And you can always sprinkle something on top of it to try to get them at least involved. No, it wasn't in the directions, John. It just, I guess they thought that people were smarter than I am. I lined up the holes, but it was just slightly off. The water was still pumping through. It was just making that noise. Yeah, I mean, because look, I'm kind of lazy. Like, I clean up so much cat poop and cat food plates and like just nonstop. So the last thing I wanted to do was add another cat thing I had to clean. And so when I got the fountain, I knew if it was going to be a pain in the butt to clean, I wasn't going to end up using it long term. And I wanted something big so that, because I have this, whether it's rational or not, I have this anxiety about my cats running out of water. Because there's nothing worse than like not having water. I don't know what it is. Jenya has the same fear. Yeah, I don't know where we got it from, but I can't, the idea of my cats running out of water just makes me feel like a complete failure. So I needed it to be a fountain that had a big enough bowl that I wouldn't worry about them running out of water. And the Pioneer water fountain was bigger than I thought it was going to be. It's awesome. I mean, it's this big. It's big. Like 2 or 3 of them can drink water at the same time. The fountain is on my Amazon page, Lizzie. But I'll post the link. See, Lizzie's like I am. Yeah, years ago, I can't remember which cat it was, but a lot of white cats especially, I mean, maybe we just can't see it on the dark cats, but white kitties will get chin acne, and a lot of times it happens when you use plastic dishes. So when I've used plastic dishes for water, there's always some kind of weird irritation that happens on any of the light furred kitties I have. So I try to stick with glass and stainless steel. Yeah, the bowl can be put in the dishwashing machine, but it's so easy to clean, there's no reason to. Honestly, like we have hard water here, so we'll get that white kind of ring around bowls, and the stainless steel on this one, like it's just that I can use a sponge and get it off. I've had no problems like cleaning it in just a couple minutes. Yeah, oh, the Big Macs. I forgot that. Of course, I wanted the Big Macs, the Pioneer Big Macs. Hi, Anne. It depends on how many cats you have. I have 4, and they all like water, and I just put a bottle in every 2 days. Like a small water bottle. I go fill it up and pour it in. There are certain times where I'll put 2 in if they've been drinking extra water. If they've been eating dry food, like the minute they start eating dry food, they start drinking more water. But when they're getting just wet food, they drink less water. So sometimes it can go like 3 days. But if you have 1 or 2 cats, it could probably go like a week, like 5 days. Well, Lizzie, were you the one that sent it to me? You probably sent it to me. Yeah, but of course the one that I wanted to fall asleep on me so I could trim his claws is over there. He has been on me this entire time torturing me, and then he goes and falls asleep over there. He's so mean. But this one, he's so cute. Yeah, we used to have a water softener that was connected under the house here years ago. It was just such a pain to change out that we just stopped. And I really should. It would probably be better for my hair and skin and like everything. But I just use that CLR, some whatever stuff to get it off of. If like the dishes have a ring on them, if it gets hard. But that's why I've been so happy with the fountain, because I haven't had to work that hard to get it clean, even with the hard water. Oh, good. See, so Brenda's had test 2 and it's 5 days. So 2 cats, and she fills it up with water every 5 days. You're very cute. I went to the kitten rescue nursery today. I took a little video. So I will post it later. And I saw the lettuce kittens, the kittens that were with me for that one night, and they're getting fluffy. Their little fever coat fur is still there, and they're all fluffed. But they're doing really, really well. And there were so many cute fluffy kittens there. And there's one single girl kitten that's by herself. And she's like 6 weeks old, and they're just about to get her tested, snap tested for FIV, FELV. And I told the manager, I was like, if she tests negative, I might be willing to like grab her and bring her here, because, you know, if she can get fixed in 2 weeks, and, you know, adoptions take a little while, she could be she could balance the pairs. Oh, that's great, Dexter. I wonder, is there a second place prize? Because I would like to vote for the Florida shelter to come in second place if at all possible, if we're that far ahead at some point. John. Yeah, it doesn't matter how long I foster or how many kittens I've bottle fed, I still am always worried that I'm going to kill them. And with those kittens, they were just so unwilling to take the bottle, and they were so unhappy that I was, even now, even after seeing them the last time, I was like, I hope to God I get there and they're still alive and they're still okay. And when I walked in and asked Lindsay, the manager, how they were, she's like, they're great. They're gaining weight. They had to separate the one little boy because he was trying to nurse on the other little boy. And it's the one that has the funky legs too, which is kind of interesting. And one of the staff there said that she thinks one of the other kittens also has a deformity on one of its paws. So we're going to see what happens with those little key paws. See, whenever I've tried to use porcelain, the hard water always like eats a a ring around it, a sandy ring. And maybe it's from me scrubbing it or whatever, but glass and stainless steel seem to work the best for me. The vets don't want to do anything about their paws for another couple weeks, I think. They need to get healthy first, or stay healthy and get a little bit bigger. They're still tiny. They're little babies. Yes, little man. Flipper will always, he'll be like so tired, half asleep, and he'll meow, and he'll be like right at the end of the meow and stop and forget to close his mouth. So right now he's sitting with his mouth a little open. Oh, you mean the toilet? Yeah, I don't let mine do the toilet. I'm too afraid. Especially once I started fostering, when I heard that kittens can drown in toilets, they can get stuck in toilets. Hopefully PJ is still watching just in case. If they fall in, even if the water isn't deep enough, like where they're gonna immediately go under, if they get stuck in the drain of the toilet, they can drown. So I've always been a person who puts the toilet seat down or the top down in the bathroom, because I heard years ago when I was a kid that when you flush, if the top isn't down, bacteria can go out into the air. And I'm crazy about that stuff. But I made sure that like it's a habit for people that come here that they have to put the cover down so no kittens get stuck in the toilet. Oh, that's great, Juliet. Mary Jane. I use glass plates and china. I have my grandparents' old china and I don't eat off of it, so I was like, I'll use it for the kitties. Hey, little baby. Yes. Oh, good. Yes, PJ, put your toilet seat cover down. Of course he has custom handmade stoneware. It's you. I would imagine he has some beautiful custom stoneware dishes that I would probably want to have. So cute. How do they have a leather sofa with kitties? I can't have any like pleather because my cats, their claws make little puncture marks. Oh God, probably John. That's why you put the top down. Hi. What are you doing, baby? Oh, man. Oh, the purring. You're adorable. Ow! I just complimented you.